Everyone in Willow Creek believed in rules that weren't written, but everyone followed anyway. Rules about life, love, and what was right or wrong. Some rules were harmless, like not parking on the main street or keeping your lawn. Neat. But others were invisible lines in people's hearts. Lines no one dared to cross. One of those lines had to do with love. People believed some loves were natural, easy, and acceptable, while others were dangerous, shameful, or wrong. And the love that everyone feared most was the love that started after loss. The love that came unexpectedly, quietly, between two people who were told they should never feel it again. Emma Parker knew those rules well. She had left Willow Creek 8 years ago, full of ambition and dreams, escaping the small-town expectations that sometimes felt like walls closing in. Chicago had been busy, loud, exhausting, but it had been freedom, work, and purpose. She had built her life there with precision, almost mechanically. Life had a rhythm, and she had followed it. Until the news about her father's health pulled her back home. She hadn't expected much when she arrived. Quiet streets, old friends she had barely recognized. The familiar smell of pine and rain. She hadn't expected her heart to recognize someone she hadn't seen in years. Someone she had barely thought of since they were children. Noah Reed lived next door to her childhood home, just as he had when they were young. At first glance, he seemed unchanged, though Emma noticed the subtle differences immediately. The broadness of his shoulders, the quiet lines on his face, the depth in his eyes that seemed to hold both grief and wisdom. He had lost someone, and the town whispered about it for years. Noah's wife had died 3 years earlier. A quiet death from illness, nothing violent or shocking. Yet enough to make the town treat him with cautious reverence, as though he were made of glass. People spoke about him softly in stores, at church, even on the porch while sipping tea. He loved her so much, they said. He'll never love again. Some heartbreaks are meant to stay forever. Emma had never believed in such rules, but seeing him again stirred something inside her she hadn't expected. Nostalgia, tenderness, and a curious flutter she tried to ignore. Their first encounter happened by chance. Emma was taking out trash one evening, tired from a long day of settling back into the routines of her childhood home. And there he was, watering his small garden under the golden light of the setting sun. They paused, noticing each other simultaneously, and for a heartbeat the years melted away. "Emma," Noah said, voice soft, cautious. "Noah," she replied, and the simple exchange carried more emotion than either of them expected. Memories rushed in, bike races down the hill shared. Laughter, whispered secrets. It was familiar and new at the same time. It stirred emotions Emma hadn't realized she still carried. That night, they talked. Hours slipped by as they discussed the everyday, the mundane, yet every word seemed heavier with meaning. She learned about his quiet life since his wife passed. He learned about her years in the city. They laughed, occasionally fell silent, and smiled at memories they hadn't shared in years. But beneath the laughter and easy words, a quiet tension, built a recognition of something neither wanted to admit. Traction, comfort, something dangerously close to hope. Over the following weeks, their paths kept crossing. Morning walks brought fleeting hellos that lingered longer than usual. At the grocery store, they ended up side by side in the same aisle, exchanging small talk that refused to remain small. In the evenings, their porches faced each other, and they'd see the light in the other's window, sometimes just enough to wave. Sometimes enough to linger in silence, letting the unspoken fill the space between them. Every interaction, simple as it seemed, built a quiet intimacy neither could ignore. Emma noticed how carefully Noah listened when she spoke. The way his eyes seemed to hold every word, every nuance. Noah noticed the warmth in Emma's gaze, the way she made the mundane feel significant. Neither admitted it, but both felt an emotional pull that neither could rationalize. And then it happened. One rainy evening, the sky opened up and Emma, struggling with groceries, felt the sudden rush of rain soaking her hair and clothes. Before she could curse her bad luck, Noah appeared with an umbrella, standing close enough for her to feel his presence fully. "Let me help," he said, voice calm, offering her the shelter of both the umbrella and himself. Their hands brushed, small, accidental, but electric. They both recoiled slightly, not ready to acknowledge what that simple touch meant. "Sorry," Emma said quickly. "It's okay," Noah replied, though his voice carried a tremor that betrayed his own nerves. From that moment, everything changed. The attraction they both tried to ignore became impossible to dismiss. They began avoiding eye contact, cutting conversations short, pretending not to notice the warmth they each felt when near the other. Their smiles were fewer, their silences louder. The fear of what the town might say, the fear of judgment, weighed heavily on them. Rumors traveled fast in Willow Creek. Emma overheard whispers in the grocery store. A widow shouldn't move on so soon. It's like a replacement. Noah heard similar murmurs at church, even from people he had once considered friends. Fear seeped into their hearts, slowly building walls between them. One evening, the tension became unbearable. They stood outside, under a sky dotted with stars, a warm summer breeze brushing past them. Emma finally spoke, breaking the silence that had stretched for weeks. "This feeling, it's wrong, isn't it?" Her voice was barely a whisper, fragile yet firm. Noah swallowed hard. "That's what everyone says," he admitted, avoiding her eyes. "But does it feel wrong to you?" she asked, looking straight into his face, searching for honesty. He didn't answer, not immediately. The truth was too raw. To admit it would mean acknowledging that he felt alive again, that his heart dared to hope, and that terrified him, because it felt right, and that was what scared them both. The feeling was natural, tender, and beautiful, yet it collided with years of loss, societal expectation, and fear of judgment. Emma wanted to reach for him, to close the distance that had been growing between them, yet she hesitated. Noah wanted to tell her how he felt, wanted to confess the joy her presence brought into his life, but he held back, worried it might be selfish, inappropriate, or too soon. Both were caught in a delicate balance of longing and restraint, a dance that neither knew how to end. Even in that hesitation, there was an undeniable connection. They shared glances that lingered, smiles that were too soft to be casual, silences that spoke louder than words. Their hearts recognized each other in ways their minds tried to deny. And in those moments, each of them realized that what the town feared, what everyone labeled as against nature, was not harmful, not wrong, not shameful. It was love. Simple, complicated, terrifying, yet undeniably beautiful. As the days passed, Emma and Noah continued to navigate the fine line between closeness and caution. Each encounter brought warmth and fear in equal measure. When Noah fixed her mailbox after a storm, they worked side by side, hands brushing, smiles shy, yet lingering. When Emma brought her father's medication to the pharmacy, Noah appeared with coffee, silently offering comfort. Each act, small in itself, was a thread weaving them together in a tapestry neither could yet fully name. They understood the stakes. Everyone was watching, judging, anticipating failure or scandal. Yet, within the safety of brief moments alone, they discovered something pure: companionship, trust. The spark of joy that comes when someone sees you fully and still chooses to stay. Emma found herself laughing more freely, feeling lighter than she had in years. Noah found moments of genuine peace, an absence of the constant ache of grief. Both feared the consequences, but both felt the undeniable pull toward each other. One night, as the town slept under a blanket of stars, Emma and Noah stood on the porch together. The silence was comforting, a rare moment of understanding without words. Emma finally whispered, "Maybe it's not wrong after all." Noah's heart skipped. He wanted to believe it, to embrace it. Yet the fear of judgment clung tightly. But even in that hesitation, something shifted. Both knew they couldn't ignore it forever. Love had returned to their lives, gentle, patient, insistent, and impossible to dismiss. Part 1 ends with this quiet tension unresolved. Their hearts were alive, full of longing, yet the rules of the town, the shadow of the past, and their own fear created a wall they weren't ready to scale. The stage was set for a journey of emotional discovery, healing, and courage. Noah were at the precipice of something rare and beautiful, a love that promised warmth and renewal, yet demanded bravery. The question lingered, could they embrace it fully, or would fear keep them apart? After that quiet night under the stars, things changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but in subtle ways that only the heart notices. Emma returned to her routines, caring for her father, managing the house, and trying to push thoughts of Noah aside. She told herself she was being practical, that feelings could wait, that she needed to focus on family and responsibilities. But her heart didn't obey practicality. Every morning, she found herself glancing toward his porch, hoping to see him outside, maybe watering his flowers, maybe sipping coffee, maybe looking her way. Every time she saw him, the ache of longing stirred. A gentle reminder of something she couldn't name yet, but felt deeply. Noah, on the other hand, struggled in his own way. He kept himself busy with small repairs, tending the garden, and even volunteering at the local library. Anything to avoid confronting the feelings that refused to leave him. He was haunted by guilt, haunted by memories of his late wife, haunted by the constant hum of the town's whispers. He told himself he was protecting Emma, keeping her away from scandal, from judgment, from people who wouldn't understand. But the truth was simpler and crueler. He was protecting himself. He was afraid of loving again, afraid of losing again, afraid of crossing a line that seemed invisible to everyone but imposed by grief and fear. The days stretched on with a tense quiet between them. They would see each other in passing, exchange polite greetings, and smile, but it was nothing like. Before their interactions, once warm and spontaneous, became careful and deliberate. Emma felt the emptiness of absence keenly. She missed the small talks, the shared glances, the way he seemed to understand her without words. Each day, her longing grew, stubborn and insistent. She realized that avoiding him was harder than being near him. It was a truth that frightened her because she knew the town would never see their connection as innocent or natural. One rainy afternoon, unable to endure the distance any longer, Emma decided to confront it. She knocked on Noah's door, her hand trembling slightly, heart racing. The rain soaked her hair and coat, but she hardly noticed. There was a weight behind her action, a combination of courage and fear. She knocked again, louder this time, and waited no answer. She was about to turn away when she heard the soft strains of piano music inside. A melody that tugged at her chest with both familiarity and sorrow. Tentatively, she pushed the door open. Noah was sitting on the couch, photo in hand, staring at an image of his late wife. The room smelled faintly of rain and old wood. He didn't notice her at first, lost in memory. Emma stood quietly, watching him. Tears glistened on his cheeks. It wasn't a dramatic scene, not one filled with shouting or anger, but the quiet. Grief was palpable, real and raw. Emma felt her heart twist with empathy and understanding. She had never known pain like his, but she recognized its weight, its honesty, its claim on the heart. "I'm not trying to replace her," Emma said softly, stepping closer. Noah looked up, startled, his eyes meeting hers for the first time. In days there was hesitation, confusion, and fear in his gaze. "I would never erase what you had," she continued. "That love made you who you are. And it's part of you that I care about too." Her words were gentle, careful, but full of truth. She wanted him to understand that loving again didn't mean forgetting, that grief could coexist with hope, that the heart had room for more than one kind of love. Noah's voice shook. "I thought loving again meant forgetting," he whispered. His hands trembled slightly as he set the photo down, unsure how to navigate this new reality. Emma shook her head, a small reassuring gesture. "It doesn't," she said. "It means living. It means honoring the past while still letting yourself feel joy now." Her words seemed to hang in the air, heavy with meaning. Noah's chest rose and fell, the weight of his emotions pressing down on him. He had been afraid for so long, afraid that moving forward would betray memories, betray love, betray himself. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Rain pattered softly against the windows, a gentle rhythm accompanying the unspoken emotions. Then Noah took a step closer. His eyes, once guarded, now held vulnerability and longing. "I wake up every day missing her," he admitted. "Lately, I also wake up hoping to see you." Emma's chest tightened. She understood that hope, that delicate, terrifying hope that bridged grief and desire. It was a truth that scared them both, but also freed them in ways words could not. Tears came then, freely, without shame. They didn't need to speak. The room was full of emotion, honest and deep. Emma reached for his hand, and this time he didn't pull away. Their fingers intertwined, a gentle acknowledgement of connection, trust, and shared pain. Outside, the world continued in its rhythms. People whispered, judged, and speculated. But inside that quiet living room, two hearts spoke a language that town could never understand. A language of healing, of tentative hope, of love that refused to be shamed. In the weeks that followed, their relationship grew. Slowly, carefully, they allowed themselves to be near each other again. Walks became longer, conversations deeper, and silences softer, filled with comfort rather than fear. Noah laughed again, a sound Emma had almost forgotten. Emma smiled more freely. The tension she had carried for years easing when he was near. They shared ordinary moments that felt extraordinary. Cooking together, watering plants, sharing memories of childhood, exchanging small gifts, and offering gentle support for each other's struggles. Some people noticed, some frowned, some whispered. The town never fully stopped judging. But Emma and Noah learned to exist in their own quiet world to protect their connection while navigating public scrutiny. They realized that fear was not their enemy. Fear was a signal that they were stepping into something meaningful, something brave. Each moment together strengthened their resolve to embrace the love that had returned to their lives. Noah discovered that his grief had not disappeared but transformed. Loving Emma did not erase his past, it honored it. Her presence brought new light into his world without dimming the memories of his late wife. Emma, too, found a sense of peace she had not known in years. Loving Noah was not reckless or wrong. It was natural, human, and profoundly restorative. Together, they learned that love did not have to conform to expectations, that it did not need validation from outsiders, and that healing and joy could coexist with loss. One evening, as the sun set over Willow Creek, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose, Noah and Emma sat side by side on the porch. The air was warm, gentle, and quiet. Noah squeezed her hand, a small gesture loaded with meaning. "Maybe people are afraid of what they don't understand," he said softly. Emma nodded, her eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "Then let's show them that love isn't something to fear," she replied. Her words carried both hope and determination, a quiet defiance against judgment, a commitment to living fully despite the opinions of others. From that day on, they stopped hiding. Walks in town were no longer secretive. Conversations became open, laughter shared without restraint. Neighbors noticed the change, the warmth between them. Some softened, some still whispered, but gradually even those who doubted began to accept the visible happiness of two people who had found each other again. Their love, once whispered about in fear and suspicion, became a gentle force of inspiration. Time passed and the connection between Emma and Noah deepened. They celebrated small joys together, a new bloom in Noah's garden, a completed project. At Emma's father's house, a sunny afternoon spent reading on the porch. They supported each other through mundane challenges and personal struggles alike. Each day, they reinforced the lesson they had learned, that love was not wrong, even if society feared it. That healing was not betrayal, and that the heart's capacity for joy and longing was limitless. The story of their quiet love spread subtly, not through gossip or drama, but through the small changes people observed. Noah laughed more freely in public. Emma glowed with contentment. Their presence together was a testament to the fact that love could heal, nurture, and flourish even after loss. And in this realization, they found freedom from judgment, from fear, from past grief. They were alive fully in each other's company. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the town, Noah turned to Emma, eyes filled with warmth and certainty. "With you, I finally feel alive again," he said. And it was true. His words weren't just about longing or attraction. They spoke of healing, hope, and the courage to love again. Emma smiled, leaning slightly into his shoulder, feeling the same truth resonate in her own heart. They didn't need the town's approval, the past's permission, or anyone's understanding. They only needed each other and the knowledge that love, in its purest form, was never wrong. The nights continued, quiet and comforting. Their hearts, once broken and weary, now beat together in a rhythm of trust and connection. They walked side by side, held hands in the kitchen, shared smiles across sunlit porches, and laughed freely in ways that had been impossible before. Their love became a steady, gentle force, a reminder that life could bring unexpected beauty and warmth even in the shadow of grief. And so, despite the whispers, despite the fears, despite the invisible rules of what people thought was right or wrong, Emma and Noah lived their love openly. They embraced the natural, tender, and human need to connect, to heal, and to hope.